Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Mike McCarthy is the producer behind the boards, and it's never too early to take a look at the NFL draft. And we've reached the midway point of the season, so now it is time to take an early look at some of the top prospects in college football as we unveil our highly anticipated, never duplicated, and always debated midseason NFL mock draft. Before we jump into it, I have to give you my midseason mock draft rules. Number one, these picks are based off what I would do as the GM and what I believe the team needs are currently at the moment. The picks also do not reflect the final grades on these prospects. This is just an introduction to some of the top prospects that you want to keep an eye on as this college football season rolls along, and the picks don't reflect what I think will actually happen in April's draft. And number four, and most importantly, it's only a mock draft, so unclench and enjoy the video. The Browns need playmakers in the backfield and on the perimeter, and currently they own the #1 overall selection, and with an opportunity to pick the best player at the biggest position of need for them, in my opinion, running back Saquon Barkley out of Penn State. Now, Barkley reminds me a lot of Garrison Hurst and will add explosiveness and game-breaking ability to the Browns offense. And contrary to popular belief, the Browns have their quarterback in DeShone Kizer, and the best way to help out a young QB is to build great weapons around him and help him flourish. Adding Barkley would be a gigantic step in the right direction. It's funny how things work out for folks. Kyle Shanahan told the world that Brian Hoyer was the best fit for his offense over Colin Kaepernick, and that C.J. Beathard was the only quarterback he targeted in the NFL draft and was handpicked by Shanahan as well. Well, Hoyer was benched for poor play and subsequently cut, and Beathard is a younger version of Brian Hoyer, so in comes Jimmy Garoppolo via trade. So the 49ers hopefully get their franchise guy that'll take them ultimately where they want to go and make Shanahan a guru once again. But as far as this draft is concerned, they land the best offensive tackle prospect in Orlando Brown, giving them a strong stud in waiting for the aging Joe Staley and one that can play either tackle spot effectively. The New York Giants would have hoped that Barkley fell in this mock draft, but they get it back in Darius Geis out of LSU that's equally as talented. Geis is explosive and powerful with the home run hitting capability that's missing from their offense. You add Geis along with the healthy Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram, and now you're cooking with Crisco on offense. The Colts need to add a threat defensively. They've been good versus the run, but a guy like Harold Landry out of Boston College would make them even better versus the pass. Landry has a knack for turning the corner and accelerating to the quarterback. I have the Bucs taking Bradley Chubb out of NC State. I'm a fan of his game, and I know the Bucs will be getting Noah Spence back next year, but Robert Ayers will be 33 years old, and there's no downside to adding guys that can disrupt the pocket, and that's something Chubb has done a lot of for the Wolfpack. The Chargers are building something special defensively, and I want to continue to add to that by giving them one of the more disruptive defensive linemen in the draft, and Clemson's Christian Wilkins. Wilkins has been a stud since his freshman season with the Tigers and has the game to be a day-one impact player at the next level. The Bears need playmakers on the perimeter. Just like I made the case for Kizer, I'll make for Trubisky. You have to surround your young quarterback with guys that can make plays, and James Washington out of Oklahoma State tracks the ball extremely well and is a legit game breaker. His game, to me, fits perfectly within this Bears offense. The Raiders are having a down season. I think they may have whiffed on some recent defensive end selections. I don't think they can whiff on a prospect like Austin Bryant out of Clemson. The Tigers program does a great job of developing defensive linemen for the next level, and Bryant brings a ton of it factor to the table. The Jets have been solid this season, and there's no other quarterback, in my opinion, worthy of a first-round pick outside of the 2016 Heisman Trophy winner in Lamar Jackson. Jackson has gotten significantly better each and every year at Louisville and is a clear-cut best draft-eligible quarterback in the country. And I'm a firm believer that good things happen to good people, and head coach Todd Bowles is a good dude, and he gets rewarded by finally getting his quarterback to push this franchise forward. The Cardinals need help in the secondary, and they get arguably the best defensive back in the draft in Minkah Fitzpatrick out of Alabama. I think Fitzpatrick can play and excel at multiple spots in the secondary, which is why I called him a defensive back, but ultimately his home is at corner, and that's where he'll definitely prosper. The Bengals have had issues at center for 2 seasons now, and I'm a big fan of the guard center guard combination being the most critical component of an offensive line, and in this mock draft they solved that issue by landing Billy Price out of Ohio State. Price is tremendous in a running game and is the type of guy that can help jumpstart the Bengals ground attack. The Browns are back on the clock with their second first-round pick, and it's the same philosophy. Continue to build around DeShone Kizer with explosive weapons. Christian Kirk out of Texas A&M definitely fits the build and reminds me a lot of Odell Beckham Jr. He's explosive and dynamic after the catch with excellent hands. The Redskins suffered an unexpected loss when Sewell Cravens decided to sit out the season. With his status still up in the air, Marcus Allen of Penn State makes a ton of sense for Washington. Allen is what you would classify as a quote-unquote football player. He's in the same mold stylistically of Sewell Cravens and should be able to step in nicely and excel. I like what the Lions are building. I'm a fan of rookies Jared Davis and Jalen Reeves-Maybin at linebacker. And to complete the trifecta, I went with Jerome Baker out of Ohio State. Baker is always around the football and does a great job on both ends of defense. I think he would complete the second level of the Lions at a position that has to be versatile and athletic in order to compete within that division. Not to sound like a broken record, but the Ravens need playmakers on the outside, and I like the current depth chart, but they really need a true #1 option, and that's what Courtland Sutton out of SMU brings to the table. Sutton is a bigger wide receiver that plays big and is very consistent game after game, something that can't be said currently about the Ravens receiving core. The Broncos bolster their interior offensive line with Quentin Nelson. You can talk about a guy that's powerful at the point of attack. Nelson grades out consistently at a high level each game and is equally as productive in pass pro as he is as a run blocker. Back-to-back offensive line picks here with the Jaguars getting even better up front with Mike McGlinchey. He's the perfect bookend to current rookie sensation Cam Robinson. Ideally, they'd want a quarterback, but again, in my opinion, outside of Lamar Jackson, you can wait until another round to take a QB. No need to force a pick here. The Titans get better in the secondary with Tavares McFadden, a very fluid athlete that has good all-around game. McFadden would form a nice, youthful pair with current rookie Adoree Jackson, adding more depth, talent, and ball skills on the back end. The Cowboys go back to the defensive line well once again with Arden Key out of LSU. I know they took Taco Charlton last year in round 1, but to me, that was a slight reach. So here with Key, they get an athletic freak with production. He's more along the lines of talent-wise Randy Gregory and would help the Cowboys up front immediately. I feel like saying the Packers need an inside linebacker is like saying the Ravens need a wide receiver. Well, I helped them out here with Roquan Smith out of Georgia. He still has some things to smooth out in this game, but I like his upside and the fact that he's an impactful tackler. Give me those type of linebackers every day of the week. Will Hernandez out of UTEP is one of the best interior linemen in the country, playing in one of the more traditional offenses in college football. I think because of what he can do in a running game would make him an intriguing option in the draft for the Dolphins. The Falcons continue to stockpile talented defensive linemen with Maurice Hurst, who's a fast-rising prospect coming out of Michigan. Hurst would be a welcome addition to Atlanta's defensive front and would provide instant pressure from within. Chukuma Okorafor out of Western Michigan will fill a big-time need for the Carolina Panthers along the offensive line. He would also be rejoined with his former college teammate and Taylor Moton, who should already be starting in my opinion. This may be a surprise to some, but Rashad Penny of San Diego State, in my opinion, is a premier running back prospect. At 5'11", 225 pounds, Penny has everything that you want from a tailback and is also a chain mover. He ran for over 1,000 yards last season, backing up Donnell Pumphrey, and is well on his way there so far this season as the starter. Penny has the speed to take it the distance and is also a threat as a kickoff returner. The Hawks need a bell cow back, and Penny can be that guy for them in their backfield. Carlton Davis is a long, lengthy corner that's a good mirror and match guy. The Rams can use some help at corner, especially on the inside, and a guy like Carlton Davis, in my opinion, could step in right away and contribute because of his hips, feet, and ability to play his height. I'm a big Denzel Ward fan. This is a guy that will probably end up going way higher in the real draft come April. He's active and explosive and also is a tremendous player when it comes to ball skills. He's a good matchup guy as well and will draw some comparisons to former Buckeye Bradley Roby. Back-to-back picks for the Bills, and they land a stud backer in Rashaan Evans out of Alabama. This is a team that has some good juju going for them this year as they're enjoying a stellar season and also have 2 first-round picks in the 2018 draft, which puts them in great position to be even better next season. The Saints add a deep threat to their receiving core with Dante Pettis. Right now they have Ted Ginn as their quote-unquote deep threat. Michael Thomas is the possession guy, and Pettis would not only help them as a dynamic returner, but most importantly as the perfect complement to Michael Thomas. Pettis is electric and would give Sean Payton the play-action deep threat that he covets in his offense. Helping out the Vikings up front with Mississippi State's Martinez Rankin. The Vikings got off to a good start up front this season, but still have room to get better at this juncture of the draft, and I like the selection and fit here with Rankin. Malik Jefferson, to me, is your ideal Steelers linebacker. I'm a big fan of his athleticism and acceleration that he brings to the table, and if we're being honest, freakish athleticism aside, he brings a lot of the same football traits as does Ryan Shazier. This will be a good pick and fit for Pittsburgh. A lot of people right now are not talking enough about Kaiser White out of West Virginia. I think he's another one that you can classify as a quote-unquote football player. He's stellar in the run defense department and can match up well versus tight ends and some wide receivers. I really like his ability as a blitzer, and to me, he's a first-round talent. Rounding out the first round with the Eagles, I go offense. I know they could use some offensive line help, but all of the top options are gone here. And sticking with the theme of building around your young quarterback, Anthony Miller of Memphis would be a tremendous fit in Philly. Miller, in my opinion, has Antonio Brown-like skills and athleticism. I love his passion and his ability to play a physical game if need be. Don't let his size fool you. He can play on the outside and also flourish. He would also add another dynamic threat to the Eagles' passing game moving forward. Two teams that don't have first-round picks, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. For the Chiefs, I went with Duke Dawson, cornerback out of Florida. He's another talented Gators defensive back that's a good man-to-man defender and fits perfectly into the scheme with Kansas City. The Texans get better along the offensive line with LSU's KJ Malone. Malone can play either guard or tackle, and now with the trade of Dwayne Brown to Seattle, it becomes a huge position of need for the Texans, and they will get great value here with Malone. So that's it for this midseason mock draft. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, or you just want to throw hate at the picks, make sure you hit me up on Twitter, and also subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located on youtube.com/footballgameplan. For all of our NFL draft content, bookmark the link footballgameplan.com/FBGP scouting. And don't forget to subscribe to Football Game Plan podcast, in which you can find on iTunes, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating.